This is Charles Kao with TravelMole TV in Hainan, China at the World Travel and Tourism Council Summit with Faith Taylor, who is with Wyndham Worldwide. And she's the Chief Sustainability Officer. And my first question, now we've met, I think, pretty close to the beginning when you started that position. I think you said that position didn't exist 10 years ago, right?
No, it didn't.
And what was the objective, or what was the job description then versus now? How has a Wyndham Worldwide view and, if you will, 5-year plan for sustainability, how has that evolved over the last decade? Okay. We'll start with that.
We'll start with that. Okay, that's a lot. So when I first started, it was the Wyndham Green program, and we were focused very much on the environment and how do we improve our performance at our hotels, our timeshares, and rental exchanges. And it was more of a grassroots organization where I tapped into a lot of the operational teams at the different locations. And it was a responsibility of mine in addition to my other job responsibilities when I started. And Steve Holmes, our chairman, when I had a conversation about that, said, yeah, why don't you start that in addition to your regular job responsibilities? So when I started it, it was more a group getting together. We put together a very simple strategy in terms of focusing on environmental performance. From there, I put together a strategic plan and went back to Steve and said, you know what, I'd like to oversee this program for you. And today, it is one of the top 5 strategic priorities for the company. It involves not only environmental and water, track and measure globally our carbon footprint, where we use an eco software. We work with Deloitte and Touche and our internal audit to verify the carbon metrics and water performance and certain social metrics. And we report externally to Wall Street using the Global Reporting Initiative. So you have shareholders who ask us about that. And we are currently, the Dow Jones has been tracking companies who report on their environmental social governance, and they found those that do report, track, measure, train, and educate perform better than those who do not. So there's a business case for it. That is so much further than when I started, and I work with organizations to set policy, to develop metrics across the industry. I track legislation globally, and then I work with organizations like the Obama administration, where he has the Better Buildings Challenge to showcase best practices and how companies and different types of owners of hotels or timeshares can implement models and replicate it. So you can see from where I started to where it is today, it is not only internally very important, but externally it's become a priority. But at the end of the day, the business case is there, and we have found that by focusing on our energy, water, waste, that we improve the performance of our assets. It improves your gross operating profits and margin, because energy is related to utility expenses, and it's increasing on average 4% a year. So if you're able to offset that, that only improves your margins. So, but more importantly, it's about the people and the environment. We see climate change is real. Who would have talked about polar vortex, Hurricane Sandy? You know, I could go on in terms of the climate and how it's been changing. So you can see that what my job was when I started this 8 years ago to what it is today, it's very strategic, it's important, and it matters.
And to what extent has the program touched the mind frame of the employee down to, you know, across all levels of the hotel at the operational level?
So at the operational level, it touches everyone, and when you do a program, you have to touch housekeeping, operations, sales, And I'm going to give you some examples. So the operations team, in terms of making sure we're putting in energy efficient lighting, or making sure that we have operational best practices where you change the filters or improve the performance of your HVAC system, will help you reduce your energy usage. So the operations team and the maintenance and the program is very much involved. Housekeeping is regarding practices like here we are in Hanai, and if you're not in your room, if you just close the curtains, it helps you to keep the room cool without using as much air conditioning. So having operational best practices or cleaning the room with green solutions that are not toxic, so the housekeeping does not have to necessarily wear gloves, put on masks, and have a better healthy environment, but also the air quality is improved in that room because you're not using toxic substances. And then you have your director of sales, where they may get requests from other companies to say, we want to stay in green hotels or certified hotels, so the director of sales is involved in terms of booking that type of business. So I'm just giving you three examples
that's
of how this impacts the entire hotel team. And so how do you manage that? And we have green councils, and we have a leader at a property, and the green council at a property should be cross-functional, and they should be working together, and they should have some type of, we use an eco software system to help them do that. On a corporate level, when we recruit, people do come because we have a sustainability program. And what you find is that, especially, you know, the Gen X, Gen Y, but millennia is very much looking at a company and saying, do you even have a program? You know, some companies do not. So it actually can help with recruiting and with retention, because they see that you care beyond just, you know, your performance, which is absolutely necessary, but they see that you take that extra step to do something positive for the environment and the people in the organization. So that's important.
Has it affected the employees at all levels to the extent that they do this at work and they go home, they think about how they're managing the environment at home,
Right.
to reduce their, let's just say, the utility bills, just as you
Right.
were describing for the hotel as a smaller one unit.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I say some employees do that and some do not. What I found is, and we do, at the program that we have, they're like, wow, you know, we have a worldwide green day, so we're able to get energy efficient light bulbs and have people take them home and try it out. Or we get pledges for people to try these things at home. What I find the most interesting, we actually have a Wyndham Green Kids program, is that the children actually are coming home from school and telling their parents. And I hear a lot of that. And I even have within our organization where you have children going to school for sustainability. It's a degree that they can actually get, or environmental sciences, because they really care and this is something they want to study. I did not see that. There was actually no sustainability degree.
Exactly, I was going to say.
10 years ago.
The
And
position wasn't there, there was no
one
degree.
of the women on my team is getting her master's in sustainability from Columbia University. So that's very different than, you know, in terms of the focus of the generation and people. But I do want to be very honest that you have a spectrum of consumers who are green. And regardless of if they're internal or external organization, they're very, very green to those who are, I'm not involved. But I would say 75% is on that spectrum of involvement, you know, of some kind. And that's indicative of the market. You've probably heard of the lifestyle of health and sustainability. It's a $400 billion market, which did not exist, you know, like 25 years ago, where you have Whole Foods markets, you have Prius cars, you have method cleaning, you know, systems. I could go on and on, right? So this market of health, sustainability, and wellness continues to grow. And even here in Hanai, in China, and I was here traveling, people are very much concerned about air quality. and there's an app. When someone showed me this app where you can measure the pollution, because there's certain days where I guess people are told you can't drive your car, your children can't go to school.
In Hainan here?
Not in Hainan, but
No.
actually in Shanghai
Okay.
and Beijing. But this app, and various people use it in various cities, tells them how polluted it is, the air quality. So who would have said that would, you know what I mean, 10 years ago?
Yes.
So, that's just one. Food safety quality, fresh water. I mean, I could go on and on. These are imperative, and people, your children, your family, you want to make sure you have these things. So I see, it's interesting to me because I see this range of consumers, but when you're in a country where you don't have fresh air and you don't have fresh water, you look at this very differently.
You are very involved, as you alluded to, a lot of global NGOs, nonprofits, etc., that are involved in sustainable tourism related to hospitality and just travel industry in general. Wyndham Worldwide and other large hotel groups have the resources to hire people as you get yourself kind of self-educated into what that was all about, with people like Lyndall DeMarco that we were talking about.
International Tourism Partnership.
How are the small and medium-sized enterprises, how have they progressed as far as you've seen? And
That's a great question.
How are they going to further...
How did they participate? Well, what's interesting is the American Hotel Lodging Association that I was part of, chairing the Environmental Engineering Committee, has, I want to say, like 50,000 hotels in North America, but most of them are small, medium businesses, and a lot of them are franchises, which we have, right? So we have Super 8 Days Inn, 80 rooms, right? And run by families. And we found, and I have found, we have a green advisory board where we have Super 8 owners, Days Inn owners who have small businesses to show how they did it. And I found that these owners are very engaged. And we actually were surprised but as we worked with them, they understood that it was good business. And they, looked at the energy efficient lighting and working with the green cleaning products, and even installed solar at Super 8s. And people were like, well, they can't do it, but they did it. And that's where actually we worked with the Obama administration to showcase a Super 8, right? Because that is what Middle America is all about. Even for the American Hotel Lodging Association, we set guidelines, and those guidelines were, here's the 11 minimum guidelines. This is how you get started, so that you can help people understand that, you know what, you can do some.
And you're saying there was a pickup on that. People did read those guidelines.
And it helped to get people started, right? You have to start somewhere. So here they are. We gave the business cases. We said this is how you move it forward. When we work on programs, to me it's very important to think not only of the big chains, like you said, we have resources, but although we have resources, there has to be a business case. There has to be value in terms of the brand reputation and being able to move the overall business forward. So that's regardless of if you're small, medium, or large. And we work on programs, and even with working with Lyndall Markle and International Tourism Partnerships, there are owners who participated who had maybe 8 hotels.
Right.
So, and that's good to have that perspective, because the industry is not all big chains. It is a range of businesses.
Absolutely.
So that's how we work together.
Faith Taylor, Wyndham Worldwide Chief Sustainability Officer. I know we can keep on going here, but
I think that's enough, right?
for today.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.